I'd like to call the special meeting of the School Committee, July 14, 2008, to order. Mr. Superintendent, if you could call the roll.
Mrs. Bragg. Mrs. Dwyer. Mrs. Mahoney. Mr. McCarthy. Mr. Mulvey. Mr. Pulio. Mayor Koch.
Present. Have a quorum, if you could all stand. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. While we're standing, we can take a moment of silence. I'd like to remember a couple of folks tonight. Anthony Tony Tufo, who was a court officer at the Quincy District Court. Unfortunate boating accident. We extend our sympathy to Liz and his family. And also a real stay at North Quincy High, all the athletic events for many years, Christopher Dexter Dolan. We extend our deepest sympathy to his mom and his siblings. Thank you. This time I'll take a motion to take the item 5 out of order, that the committee goes into executive session for litigation purposes. Motion made by Mr. McCarthy, seconded by Mrs. Bragg. Mr. Superintendent, call the roll.
Mrs. Bragg. Mrs. Dwyer. Mrs. Mahoney. Mr. McCarthy. Mr. Mulvey. Mr. Pulio. Mayor Koch.
Yes. We will be returning to this chamber once we're finished with our executive session for other business. We'll stand in recess. School Committee back in session. Okay, approval of minutes, none. Item 2, none. Go to item 3, old business. Item A. Mr. McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The last meeting, I made a motion that was tabled. I'd like to make a motion to bring that off the table.
Motion's been made, seconded, to bring it off the table. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
What I'd like to do is, I wanted to reintroduce in the form of a motion the Faxon Field Track Site Approval vote. If I could do so now, I'd like to make that in the form of a motion.
Could you state the motion, Mr. McCarthy?
I'm bringing back the motion that was tabled to vote on Faxon Field as the site of the track.
Well, Faxon Field's between us. It's on the table now for discussion, so you have a motion more specific than that?
We just made a motion to take it off the table.
It's back before the body.
Right now, I'm making a motion to vote on it.
Okay. So you're making a motion to vote one way or the other?
Right.
We want to state that motion?
Yeah, I'm introducing the form of a motion that we vote on Faxon Field as the site of the track. It's the same motion I made at the last meeting where I proposed a vote on Faxon Field as the site of the track.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I go to the table on the grounds that we do not have sufficient information before us to take a vote one way or the other.
Mr. Pulio?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to second that motion. I do not feel like we have sufficient information at this time to make a decision.
On the motion, Mrs. Dwyer.
My understanding is you can only table the motion once. Without a vote. That's a courtesy. If you read the Quincy School policy, somebody can table the motion without a vote once, but it doesn't automatically revert back to Robert's Rules of Order so that you can table it again. If you want to do that, we can take a vote on it again, but you can't table the motion without a vote tonight.
Point of order.
Point of order, Mrs. Bragg.
Mrs. Dwyer is correct that it is a courtesy that the first time a matter comes before the board, they can table it without a vote. You can table with a second and a vote on top of that, though. You can do that. And that's what we've done for it. The second table motion has been made, it has been seconded, and it's before the body to vote on tabling the motion again. But that does require a majority vote.
Mr. Pulio.
Mr. Chairman, I call the question raised by Mrs. Bragg.
Okay, the motion before us has been made and seconded to table the Faxon Field site discussion once again. So a yes vote tables the motion again, a no vote keeps it before us. Mr. Superintendent, if you'd call the roll.
Mrs. Bragg? Mrs. Dwyer? Mrs. Mahoney? Mr. McCarthy? Mr. Mulvey? Mr. Pulio? Mayor Koch?
Yes. Motion fails. The matter is before us. We have a motion by Mr. McCarthy to vote on the Faxon Field site. On the motion, Mrs. Bragg.
I still can't understand why we're taking a vote on something this important when we don't have all the facts before us. And I put that question to Mr. McCarthy.
Would you like to respond, Mr. McCarthy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The reason I'm doing it is because the more that I thought about this vote, this is not a vote about soil or topography studies or design. This vote is for approval of the location of the track site, the address, the physical location of where we're going to put the track. And the way I'm looking at it, and is why I'm bringing it up, and I'm bringing it up early rather than later, is that it's a physical location that we can't pick up and move. It's a parcel of land, and we all know where it is. And there are many obstacles that are there today at this location, and will be there today for many years, regardless of what happens, design-wise, soil-wise, or topography-wise. Some of the issues that I'm looking at here, and I can go through them, but I think we all know them, is parking is going to be an issue in this area. During the school week, when there's an event, a track event, if we have a track at this location, our parking lots are still full of teachers and people working at the high school. For people to come to this location and park, for us to add another main attraction to this neighborhood would only smother the people that are in the neighborhood, just like it has up at Kavanaugh Field with Atlantic. There will be no parking. The neighborhood streets will be inundated with vehicles. The second thing that sticks out in my mind right off the bat, and we talked about this when we had a brief presentation here a few weeks back, was the safety concerns. For the kids, it's of grave concern. I think building a track that brings in hundreds of children and families to the corner of Route 3A in Cottington is unacceptable. We are gravitating to a location that will bring problems. To have children near 3A and have it on the school committee's plate, it's our responsibility to remember we represent what's best for Quincy kids, and I just don't think safety-wise that this site is. People will drop their kids off on Route 3A at this location. It's not going to change if we check the soil or the lay of the land. It's going to be there. Traffic is another item. Right now it backs all the way back up to the back gate of the cemetery. To add a track to this small postage stamp of a location that we know is barely going to fit, I think is unacceptable. Traffic has decreased by enormous percentages since Woodward Ave was closed, since we started the high school project. We've gone down in some streets by 50%. It will all come back to the neighborhoods of Woodward, Edgemere, Russell Park, and not to mention Southern Artery, especially in the afternoon when traffic maximizes. I don't have to say much to this body about the wetlands issues. This site brings up potential appeals that were settled when the high school broke ground, and this site will be appealed if we move forward. The wetlands are here to stay, and I don't know why we would entertain the thought of having that agreement jeopardized that commenced the high school to get its ground broken and get it underway. The last thing is flooding. Another thing that is here today and has been here forever Even if promises are made on flooding situations, I don't know if it will cease or will get worse. But again, I don't know why we're going to jeopardize the neighbors. We should not be wasting money and time on a site that has all these obstacles if we don't think it will work properly. Nothing that I have said here tonight can be changed by a soil sampling or a topography study. It's the corner of 3A, one of the busy intersections in the city. It's not for our kids, and I don't believe it's the location for a track.